Hello everyone, this is Shokora Zouheikyoku aka chocomint, and welcome back to our Let's Play on Meeting in the Flesh. In the last playthrough, we have a little date with Brattan and gave us some time to think about our decision, whether we will go with him or not. And now this is the end of our journey to reach the decision on what will happen next. And obviously, the answer is obvious. So I'll spare no spoilers here and let's go. I will. Okay, this time we have the appearance of our protagonist, Will, and it's kind of similar to the art that we saw earlier before with Iesto, but a bit different since you can see the claws of Brattan's on their shoulder right here. Interesting. Also, I just noticed in the bubbles is a heart-shaped thing, so that's interesting. I want to go with you. I said it, and I immediately know it was the right thing to say. I exhaled sharply, feeling a tingle of euphoria work its way down my spine, so I repeat myself. I want to go through the hole with you. Brattan stares at me for a moment. I almost wonder if he didn't hear me. But just as I start to repeat myself, he whoops. There's no warning before he grabs me up in his arms and twirls it in a circle, swinging me around like a toy. It's a little disorienting, but he stops quickly enough, instead pulling me close to his chest and squeezing me tight. The warmth of his fur envelops me like a blanket of soft fluff laid over top muscle as he nuzzles the crook on my neck. I'm so glad, Will. He squeezed me even tighter, just enough to make the air escape my lungs in a wheeze, then gently puts me down. He bends over a little as he puts me down so he can look me in the eye. I'm so happy. I'm really happy you're willing to go with me. Thank you so much, Will. I've never heard Brattan sounding so sincere. Not that Brattan is ever insincere, but he's always been so confident and playful, like a gal whooping through a forest. But now, there's a clear gravity to his words, and I can feel the way he's practically vibrating with pure joy. With true joy. It makes my chest feel tight to know my answer was able to make him so happy, and I lean forward to bump foreheads with him. Me too, Brattan. I'm excited to do this with you. I'm really happy you asked me to join you. Brattan laughs softly, the sound rumbling up from the pit of his stomach to brawl past his teeth, and he nuzzles my head, puffing out a warm breath through my hair. We stay like that for a few long moments before the sound of scrabbling in the distance catches our attention. The noise turns out to be a small group of boar grass stretching about near a cluster of small teeth, probably in search food. We catch each other's gaze and laugh. Hey, come on, let's sit down. He looks up, holding his visor before his eyes as he squints towards the sky. It looks like there's still some time left before the eclipse, so let's rest until then. How about over there? I point towards a large, unbroken tooth near the hole. Its base surrounded by flecks of fat and scraggles of hair. Sounds good. Brattan helps me clamber up the tooth, then climbs up himself, sitting next to me. Together, we stare out over the flesh bones, listening to a hot breeze whistle across the flat terrain. And as the immediate rush of excitement settles down a touch, I find my thoughts growing crowded. Do you think I should leave behind a note or something? Huh? For my boss and neighbors to find. They have no idea what I'm doing after all, and I think they might be worried if I suddenly vanished. Yeah, you're right. Hold on a moment. Brattan hops up the tooth and goes back to his caterpillar. I watch as he rummages through the pouches on his back, then finally gives it a rub on the head. The caterpillar's mandible is shoved. It seems to have been drawing on a clump of hair. Okay. Brattan returns with a map and a pencil, presenting them to me proudly as he hops back onto the tooth. Here, you can leave a note on this. It's normally so we can note down where we find sore pools or find dangerous spots. But I don't have anything else to write notes on. And maybe it'll seem more mysterious if we leave the note on a map but don't actually write down where we're going. He's still thinking of dramatics, even as we near the pivotal moment. I give a bright smile as I accept the pencil. Thanks. I'll try to make sure I don't leave any clues behind.
Don't worry about it. You should write what you need to. I don't want you to feel bad about leaving people in the dark.
I nod as I put the pencil to paper, but Brattan's concerns are unnecessary. I already have a good idea of what I want to write. I keep it fairly short and simple. It's not like I'm a particularly eloquent person anyway. I've taken this chance to go traveling. I'm not sure where I'm going and I don't know if and when I'll return, but I'm very excited. Sorry for leaving so suddenly. I hope everyone will be well. My thoughts are always with you. Thank you for the time we spent together. Bill. I'm done.
Already?
I expected Brattan to be reading over my shoulder, but he seems to have resisted the temptation. Yeah. I wanted it to be simple, and I wouldn't really know what to say if I made it longer.
Huh.
Brattan gives a thoughtful huff, the breath ruffling the longer, fluffier tufts of hair on his chest. It's an endearing sight, and I grin at him before sliding up the tooth and stepping towards the caterpillar. I'll just tuck it into her harness, okay?
Yup, someone's spotted then.
The caterpillar pays me no mind as I fold the note in between the skin and the harness, twisting it around the strap so it won't come loose, but is still immediately visible. Brattan is staring off across the flesh fields when I clamber back up onto the tooth. When I sit close to him, he heaves a quiet sigh and wraps an arm around my shoulders, pulling me closer so I lean on him. It is warm and comfortable like this, the fluff of Brattan's fur guarding against the periodic breeze that whips across the flesh fields. And we talk. Not about anything in particular, but today might be the last day we spend here, with a place we're familiar with, so we can't have reminiscence. Brattan tells me about his favorite spots to relax, about the strange things he's found while searching for salt pools, and about his friends, the other salt scouts, the funny people he's met around town. Some of them are people I also run into, and even my delivery clients, and I make sure to tell him each time. Time goes by easily as we share stories about Isho, the flesh hoarder, and WRW, who decorates all of his clothes with an astounding number of teeth. I laugh when Brattan describes Givli, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, Billy, who had always seemed so normal when I delivered his soul to him, but apparently spends his free time teaching crows to sing his favorite songs.
Man, I'm going to miss everyone.
Me too. A cold breeze cuts across flesh fields, flattening tufts of hair and kicking around loose teeth. Eyes scrunch up smaller against Brattan's side, and he pulls me closer until the wind subsides.
Hey Bill.
Yeah?
Are you sure you want to do this?
I can't pretend I'm totally confident in this decision, so I have no immediate answer. I rest close to Brattan like this. I can hear the beats of his heart thumping steadily against his ribcage. There's a calming rhythm, remaining consistent even as he waits for my answer, and I close my eyes. I feel like, as long as I could hear this sound, I'll be able to handle most things. It's really scary going to this unknown place, to be honest. But I think it'll be worth it. I want to try new things. I want to see things I haven't seen before. And I think, if I'm doing it with you, I won't feel so scared. So I'm sure I want to do this. Brattan doesn't respond, just holding me close. But the way his fingers curl around my shoulders says enough. There isn't much else to say. We sat quietly for a long time, watching the scenery of the flesh fields. A few clouds drift lazily overhead, but the skies are otherwise clear. The greenish glow of sunlight washes over the clumps of bone and seed littering the fields, clustering of slides of fat visible past the topmost level of skin, and highlighting the movement of scurrying poor rats. It's peaceful out here without the bustle of the city, and I feel a calm settling over my mind. It's only when Brattan gives me a jostle that I snap back to my task.
It's here. The eclipse is coming.
He hands me his visor, pulling out a second one from his pouches. It's better repaired than I expected. Donning the visors, we look towards the sky and watch as the moon begins to encroach upon the sun's shape. The dark shadows began to eat away at the sun's outline, first on one side, then also at the other. A strange quiet began settling over the flesh foes, and when I look down, I can see several bull rats frozen in place. They are also staring upwards, no doubt startled by the way the skies are suddenly starting to go dark. The way their noses twitch is kind of cute, and I smile as I also look back upwards. I wonder if Brattan and I also look so dumbfounded. Though the view is slightly mirrored by street clouds, it's still impossible to miss the way the sun's light is starting to be carved away. There's such strange electricity in the air as the skies continue to darken. Next to me, I can hear Brattan's voice quicken a touch, a deep fret echoing through his chest. His hand squeezed tighter at my shoulder for a moment as the moon continues to eat away at the sun's light. They move along their paths with no hesitation, steadily crawling forward, bit by bit. The flesh field feels unnaturally quiet, as if even the breeze and different animals have been arrested by this strange sight. Closing my eyes for a moment, I think I can hear the rush of my own blood in my veins. When I open them back up, it almost feels like night. The skies are peppered with dark smudges of cloud, lit up only by a sliver of light that flies past the shadow of the moon. Even as we watch, the moon continues along its respective paths, slowly consuming the sunshade. That sickle-shaped slice of sunlight glows slimmer and slimmer, petering out to a bright glare at one corner. After a few moments, that too dims, as if fighting for its life. Time seems to stand still when it fades, leaving only a perfect circle of white stamped in the skies like a circle. I find my breath coming short, hands gripping tight at Brattan's, and I give a small jump when Brattan whispers,
It's done. Let's do it.
Now? My voice also comes out at a whisper. It feels oddly hard to speak, the air heavy and tense, like something monstrous is bearing down on us. The uncanny darkness makes the flesh fields feel all the more terrifying but beautiful. And I shiver slightly as Brattan pulls away to slip off the tooth, his feet back quietly against the ground. It's so quiet I can hear the squelch of fat and fluids underfoot.
Yeah, now.
He holds his hand out for me to take, and I do so. As I slip off the tooth, I look back up. The eclipse is still at its peak, sunlight reduced to a faint glimmer that barely lights our surroundings. We need to hurry. The surface of the hole is almost black in the absence of sunlight. Our movement sends ripples dancing across the surface, little thin slivers of light sliding across that mirror slick before disappearing. The outburst feels all the more intimidating in the silent, oppressive atmosphere of the eclipse. A shiver of anticipation prickles down my spine, and I look up at Brattan. He's staring intensely at the hole.
Ready?
His words are exhaled breathily, barely above a whisper. Though my thoughts instantly flash to everything I'll be leaving behind by entering this hole. My home, the boss, all my clients, my familiar surroundings, and everything else I've ever known. I don't give it a second thought before nodding. Ready? Already, the eclipse of best has passed. A glimmer of light glares across the whole surface as the sun begins to emerge from behind the moon's shadow, and Brattan wraps me up in his arms. His grip is tight but surprisingly tender, holding me close to his chest without suffocating me. The warmth of his fur surrounds me like a heavy blanket, with only a small touch of cold when his nose brushes against my ear.
Let's go.
I barely have the chance to close my eyes and nod in response to those low words before Brattan throws himself, and me in his arms, into the hole. There's barely a splash. The substance in the hole accepts us with no resistance at all. The surface of the pool closing up over our heads in near silence. Then it drags us in deeper and deeper. There's a strange suction clawing us deeper into the hole's belly, a force heavier than gravity that drags us relentlessly downward. Though I reflexively held my breath, it isn't long before my lungs feel tight, and when I finally open my mouth in a deep gasp, the surrounding fluids force into me, instantly replacing the remaining air in my lungs. There's no feeling of panic, No sensation of drowning, just the sense of something drastically different surging through my airway and filling my chest. When I open my eyes, the first thing I see is a blurry shadow at the edge of my vision slowly melting away. It takes me a moment to realize that it's Brattan's massive shoulder, his arm still wrapped around me, his fur is falling away in whips. I clutch tighter at him. Brattan similarly pulls me closer, his own grip unwavering. I don't understand what's happening, but I'm not scared. The substance in the abyss has shaped itself around us, holding us, pulling us deeper in, but it seems to grow heavier the next moment. A pressure bursts down on us from all sides. It's hot and heavy, but not cruel or painful, just like a pair of hands cupping around us and gently squeezing. I bury my face into the crook of Brattan's shoulder, feeling another wave of fur brush past my cheek, then flow away upwards. Is something also happening to me? I can't tell. Our surroundings keep growing hotter and denser, a strange pressure wriggling at my skin and gently bearing down on my eyes until I'm forced to close them again. It's dark. My breath feels shorter. The pressure of Brattan's arms around me is the only thing that doesn't change. I hold him tighter too, and I don't let go, even as my thoughts start to scatter. I'm jolted back to awareness by the feeling of landing heavily on a hard, cold surface. The impact is accompanied by the hot sting of the rough surface scraping against my skin. I gasp for air, coughing up plumes of the substance from the abyss. It pours from my mouth, leaving streams of hot saliva stringing from my jaw, and each breath of air I gulp down feels far too crisp against my tongue. My mouth feels sensitive and empty, like my teeth have shrunk. Not just my teeth. My body as a whole feels oddly tense, like my skin tightened too much and shrunk down my frame, combating my limbs down to half their normal length. I finally managed to crack my eyes open a touch. My eyelids feel heavy. It's a struggle to process what I'm seeing. Oh, Hawkins! Barren streets stretch before me, flanked on either side by buildings completely devoid of life. The surface sports only cold rocks and glass, lacking any veins of flesh or stretches of skin. Though a few colorful suns break the monotonous stretch of gray, and I can see the movement of a few people far in the distance, it's another otherwise cold and unwelcoming landscape. I roll up my eyes to make sure I'm not seeing wrong. I'm not.
Okay.
It looks modern, like a modern place. Then I realized my hand too has changed. It's shrunk. My claws are gone, leaving only thin, flimsy nails in their place, and my fingers feel much smaller, weaker. I won't be able to run like I usually do when my grip weakens like this. Maybe I've changed. Just like Brattan lost his fur while we were sinking through the hole. Brattan. Alarmed, I look around for Brattan. He's nowhere to be seen. But I do quickly realize there's another person lying beside me. It's only his bulk that suggests it might be Brattan. Everything else about him is foreign. There's no blanket of fur to hide the stretch of long muscular limbs, and the sight of so much bare, hairless skin is a little unnerving. The only hair I can spot is on the top of his head, short and bristly, but it's the same shade that Brattan's fur was. Brattan? I take his shoulder and shake gently. The skin is warm beneath my fingers, but feels discomfortingly smooth and featureless. I shake again, a little harder. My arm feels so weak. It takes a lot of effort just to jostle this other person.
Well, I mean, Brattan is pretty big too.
Brattan?
Bill?
The voice that slips out from this other person is both familiar and unfamiliar. Though it lacks the deep rumble of Brattan's signature growl, the way he says my name is immediately recognizable, and I breathe a sigh of relief as the person continues, sounding groggy.
What happened to you?
I think we changed. The person, Brattan. I'm sure it's Brattan now, sister. His lost a lot of bulk. Even without his fur, he wouldn't have been this small. He's shrunk, like I have. My hand slips from his shoulder, down the length of his arm, to touch at his hand. His paws and claws have vanished, leaving behind tender hands that look a lot like mine, just slightly larger. flimsy nails, soft skin, fleshy fingers. My fingertips feel far more sensitive as I touch as his knuckle. Yeah, they turn into humans. Kind of. So, my kind of theory has kind of been correct so far. They go to another world, so human world maybe? Or at least a world where have human-like creature.
This is a different world, huh?
Brattan looks around. It feels odd seeing him with such a bland, flat face. But there's traces of his usual self in the way he smiles at me. His teeth have mostly been flattened down, but at least they remain fairly sharp, keeping the look a little familiar.
Feels weird, doesn't it?
It really does. As the shock of our changed appearance settles in, we begin to realize just how different everything feels. The air feels sharper and crisper. The familiar, every breath and scent of flesh and blood have been replaced by a strange, metallic tang, undercut by a current of smoke. When I struggle upright, I'm sharply aware of how gritty the ground feels beneath my new, soft feet. Brattan also stands, then shivers.
It's cold. Have you always found this cold?
Well, I mean, you lost a lot of fur, so... It must be a shock to suddenly be without fur. Thankfully, I still have my cloak and we share it. The fabric is just enough to keep us warm and covered as we find shelter in what looks like a quiet alleyway. Leaning against a wide fence and flanked on either side by cold, dry walls, we rest against each other. Though our new skins are strangely lacking in texture, they're highly pleasant to touch against each other, and we keep warm by staying huddled together under my cloak. Nice. I should probably be more scared, but I think, as long as Brattan is here, we'll manage somehow. We end up resting there until the sun starts to come up. The sun here turns out to be orangish. It's slightly alarming at first to see our surroundings start to light up with an odd yellowish hue, but we soon accept it for what it is. At least the warmth of it permeates through the fabric of my cloak, slowly easing our chills and rousing us properly. The streets also start to come alive with the break of dawn. People begin to move about, and we watch as they drowse back the entrance of our little alleyway. They all look eerily similar. There seems to be a gnome, just 2 legs, upright, hairless except on the top of the head, with only 2 eyes, a small nose and mouth, and there are practically no deviations from that template. Say some difference in hair length and skin tone, everyone is alike, and we are like them. Brattan mourns the loss of his beautiful teeth. I'm a little sad to lose my speedy legs, but we'll just have to adapt. It's a little after the sun's rising and the entire city is lit up that a door near us suddenly opens up. It's made of metal, with not a single trace of organic life, and we stare warily as a person emerges from it. They're dressed curiously, in close-fitting clothes that have been dyed bright colors. The person also seems startled to spot us. It's hard reading their expression, but their wide eyes and slightly parted mouths suggest surprise and hesitation before they speak.
You're not supposed to be here.
Sorry. I apologize, but I'm not sure what to say, and I hesitate over my words. The stranger looks us over carefully.
Are you... okay?
Why are you guys naked? As Brattan and I look uneasily at each other, the stranger sighs, then glanced down the alleyway. He seems satisfied after a few moments, then beckons us towards the door. Come on, the manager isn't in yet. Of course I want to pick you guys up if this was a prank or something. The person introduced himself as Dylan as he ushers us indoors. Then he asks us for a phone number, which we don't have, of course. After some hesitation, Brattan explains the situation. We're not sure of where we are, he says. We're lost. We don't have any clothes or money, and we also have no memory of who we are, except our names. The last bit is a lie, but no doubt it will go over better than saying that we've come from a different world, one that looks completely different from this alien landscape. Brattan continues that we're sorry to bother him, but we aren't looking for trouble. We're not sure of exactly what to do, but we just want to survive. Dylan rightfully gives us a long, suspicious look, but he also doesn't immediately question us or ask us to leave. He seems to deliberate for a long moment before giving a heavy sigh.
Alright, you guys don't seem like you're high or whatever. So I'm going to have you wash dishes, alright?
It takes us a few moments to understand what he means. It turns out the establishment is some sort of eatery, despite the lack of salt or honey. Dylan says he'll buy us some clothes and feed us, so long as we repay the debt by helping him for the day.
Otherwise, he says, I'm just going to have the cops deal with you.
His generosity shocks us both. Brattan humps across the table to give him a huge hug, which startles him. I opt for nodding enthusiastically and thanking him for his kindness and promising we'll both do our best. Dylan has us wait in the alleyway while he goes to purchase us some clothes. Then returns and gives us each a bagel sandwich. The texture of it is odd, crunchy on the outside but strangely billowy inside, with a layer of soft, squishy substance between the outer shells. It's a mix of flavors that neither of us are familiar with, rich and almost cloying, with only the faintest, familiar sting of salt. It's good, and Dylan kindly give it to us, despite us being strangers. As frightening as it is ending up in this barren, lifeless landscape, we might be able to manage if the people are still kind. Of course, not everything works out so smoothly. We quickly learned that Dylan's kindness was unusual, and that we were fortunate to encounter him first upon arriving in this strange world. Without experience living in this strange world, and without an identity, Brattan and I have to learn to adapt. We quickly learned to make up allowance of our allowance. We work manual jobs where the work is hard and the pay is barely adequate. I work as a dishwasher at a diner, and Brattan works for a landscaping company cutting plants. Finding shelter is also difficult without money and without identities, and it's only thanks to the help of other people that we manage to survive. We sleep outside during warm nights and find shelter in a place called Church on rainy nights. The rain here is cold and water instead of blood, so we're grateful for shelter from the needling spray of water. Some people are cruel to us, but others are kind. Life is hard here, but not unbearable, especially because we have each other.
That's interesting. I'm pretty sure their face not flat. I guess it's showing their appearance it's showing their appearance before they changed. So this is still their previous look. It's not their look after they've changed.
We take comfort in each other's company more than anything. I doubt either of us could have survived without the other. No matter how exhausted we are at the evenings, Brattan is quick to smile and point out the things that went well that day. He talks about a new friend he made, or a friendly client who gave him water, or a small animal he got to share his food with. He points to the strange, glowing bugs that light up the park when we're huddled together on a bench at night. He wraps his arms tight around me and says he's happy to have me at his side in this strange place. I always squeeze his hand when he says it and tell him I'm happy to be at his side too. Everything in this world is strange and foreign, but as long as we have each other, we can survive.
Oh, okay. So this is the
Changed look. So Bill kind of have a burn mark on their face. It looks like a burn mark, or it's just a birthmark. But wow,
they're really good looking. Super good looking. Excuse me. Next.
even if our bodies are different, and it takes us a while to fully accept that these are now our forms. It's strange at first, exploring our bodies and realizing how different we are now. Our skins feel restrictive at first, too tight around these bodies that are a little too small. Brattan complains of feeling barren and bald with fur only at the top of his head, while I feel strangely stuffy, covered in this elastic layer dotted with hair. I'm accustomed to the chill of the air against the raw patches on my face, and several mornings, I wake up feeling like I've had fabric plastered to my face. It always takes me a few moments of bawling at my face to remember that this is not my body. The extremities of these forms are also far weaker than we're accustomed to. In private, Brattan and I make fun of our small hands and stubby feet. The lack of claws allows for little traction,
and the soft skin of our arms and feet is vulnerable to stretches and friction. We have to learn to care for these tender forms, staying vigilant even about small injuries and matching them up frequently. Both Brattan and I are used to physical activity, so we're not used to struggling with anything physical. For the first time in our lives, we find ourselves struggling to move our bodies in the ways we want. But these bodies aren't entirely awful, we eventually find out. Okay, sorry. The first time Brattan runs his hand down my back, I feel a shiver rumbles through my nerves. He buries his face into the curve between my neck and my shoulder, each hot breath close and warm against my skin. And it's then that I realize the skin, while somewhat stifling, is also warm and sensitive in a way I've never felt before. Oh my! My fingertips, especially, are highly sensitive to the texture of Brattan's skin, dipping past little scars and pock marks, running over the bumps of veins. I let my hand wander over Brattan's chest, marveling at the way I can feel his pulse so clearly without the heavy biting of fur. My fingertips praise up to his shoulder, then down the length of his arm, and when I entwine my fingers with his, I can feel every shape of tendons beneath the thin skin there as he squeezes my hand back. It sounds very innocent. My bad. It sounds completely innocent. Just kind of, there's a sense of sensual, I'm not sure. Maybe it's normal to pat each other down, I guess. Touching. Okay. I should not have said that, but okay. And without words, oh my god. We begin exploring each other's bodies. It's only natural, as the immediate worry of survival starts to abate. We find ourselves increasingly curious about the world and bodies we now live in. And learning more about each other in this way turns out to be very pleasant. Our fingers are the first step. Devoid of any real claws and covered in the most sensitive skin, we take our time running them over each other's bodies. Brattan's nails creep gently over my shoulder as he eases aside the neck of my shirt. Okay guys. Then come lips, the only parts of bodies anywhere near as sensitive as our fingertips. They're nothing like the lips either of us had in our previous bodies. Pink and soft and warm, covering only a blunt line of teeth. They're sensitive without being raw, easily molding together when we kiss. Okay. Kissing was something we might have found difficult in the past, between Brattan's prominent fangs and the raw skin on my face, but in these bodies, it comes naturally to both of us. Our first kiss is short and clumsy. We're so unused to the wet, intimate warmth of the gesture. Then we immediately do it again. Cute. And again. Oh my god. Let me stare at this longer. This is very obvious what they are doing. So, very, very hot. Oh my. Next. Even in his current form, Brattan is strong. I hear the sudden ribbon of fabric when he impatiently tries to tuck aside the folds of my shirt. He ripped the shirt, okay? Then feel the fabric go limp against my body as Brattan gives a frustrated hug. His red razors warm across my cheek, and I laugh. It's okay. We're not in any rush. He calms down a little as we undress, but I can tell he's still feeling impatient. As soon as I set aside my now ragged shirt, he nuzzled into the crook of my shoulder, thus pressing little spots of heat into my skin. I feel the graze of teeth and flinch for a moment, instinctively steeling myself for the sharp poke of fangs, but only feel a slight pressure. Brattan must have felt a flinch because he pulls his head back to look at me. The knit of his brows or chest worry. Did that hurt? No, it's alright. I guess it might have hurt before, when I still had my old teeth. Yeah, but it feels nice now. A lot of things feels nice now. Like the spans of his skin, dusky from long hours spent out in the sun, speckled with streaks and bark marks and scratches, but warm in texture to the touch. Like the gentle feel of his arms hafted me up into his lap, somehow more controlled than the strength he had in his original body. His hands molding against each deep and curve of my body as he feels me from shoulder to hers to times. Let the way his muscles tense and shift visibly with each movement, no longer masked by the thick layering of fur as he shifts his body to fit perfectly against mine. I decide to kiss him, keeping our lips brushed together until my lungs feel a little tight and hot and heavy, and when I finally pull back, Brattan seems to automatically swarm in excitement. He's never been one to feel bashful, but he seems to falter a little at the moment. His cheeks flush bright and hot. There's a speckling of sweat at his brow, plastering a straight strand of his hair to his forehead, and I laugh as I brush it aside. Brattan's so confident that he looks especially cute when he's flustered. I guess it's a little weird that the first time we do anything like this is in these strange bodies.
Just a little, yeah.
I talk quietly, keeping my words low, like they're a secret just between the two of us, kept away from the distant bustle of the city past the windows, with my forehead pressed against his. A subtle heat is trapped between us, lovely and warm against our skins as I pull closer against him. As I pull myself closer against him, it feels a little foreign at first, like everything is, but we've always adapted well. Now it's no different. I let one hand drag down his chest, feeling the beat of his heart and the rise and fall with each breath he takes. My other hand explores the shape of his body, fingers brushing lightly against hot skin, careful but curious. At their very core, these bodies are similar enough to our old forms that we know what to do. But the subtle differences are just enough that we're constantly making new discoveries. Like the fact that we can't rush into things. Our first attempt to be together is awkward and a little painful for me. Brattan is nothing but apologies when I let out a yelp, looking terribly alarmed as he lays me back down the couch. I laugh as I brush a hand against his cheek, telling him it doesn't hurt that badly. I just need a small break. He spent the entire time running his fingers through my hair, periodically kissing my temple, and his face lights up when I tell him I'm ready to try again. Things go much more smoothly when we take our time. Brattan fresh, glowing words of encouragement as he gently eases me into the moment, his hands pressing into my skin, excited but not impatient. I feel like his pulse is throbbing through his skin, saturating me in more with every moment. Even so, I want to be closer to him. Sitting over his back with my hands against his shoulders, I touch at his jaw to get him to look up, and when he does, I kiss him. It proves to be a nice distraction to keep me relaxed as I ease myself into place. There's a flutter of pain as my body strains, but it's followed by a sensation intense enough to make my head spin.
Are you alright?
Yeah. The warm settle in me is almost too much to take. I need to sit still for a few moments, willing myself to breathe slowly and stay calm. But waiting proves hard. Even before my pulse has stopped ringing in my head, I move to shift against Brattan. He wraps me tight, his arms wrapping around me in a bear hug before his hand drifts down, sweeping from my shoulders to my back to my waist, like they don't know where to settle. Head pressed against my chest. He moves sharply enough to make the couch creak beneath us, and I shudder at the feel of his shape shifting inside me. Our bodies fit together awkwardly at points, but just right at others. It's not perfect, but it does feel right for us. And for one moment, I feel like we're back in our own bodies.
That's interesting.
The shifting between potential imagination our bodies,
Wowie. That's interesting.
If I close my eyes, I can almost feel the soft carpet of Brattan's fur beneath my fingers, the slight dig of his claws into my back, the leathery billow of his paw pads dragging down my shoulders. If I focus a little harder as I brush my hands through his hair, I can feel the reflexive touch of his pointed ears and the excited swoosh of his tail brushing against my legs. Like Brattan's never changed at all.
My body too feels properly like my own. I ease myself up onto my knees, and my legs don't feel so strongly and weak, easily sustaining my weight when I shift positions to feel more of his skin against mine. My hands rest against Brattan's shoulder, no longer faltering from weakness and the lack of claws. I feel at ease with myself and with Brattan, and everything feels the way it should be. His breast struck hard against the shell of my ear, and I pressed my lips against his temple. I can feel the rubble of Brattan's muscle beneath his skin, his body pulling taut from the rising tension, and I reflexively wrapped my arms around his head, pulling myself closer to him. Our breaths come in tandem. It feels like our pulse match too. Brattan's voice flies past the curtain of fog clouded through my thoughts, and it takes me 2 or 3 repetitions to realize he's saying my name. His voice sounds like he used to, gravelly and deep, almost like a growl. It's edged with an intense focus as he repeats my name again and again, then once more as he pulls me terribly close to his body. He wraps me close to him like something precious, like something he's trying to make a part of himself.
Ooh, ow. I'm pretty sure he is. And you also are too.
It's the closest I've ever felt to him, on par with the sensation of when we delved into the hole and the flesh fused together. From that moment on, we've intertwined our lives, and this feels like a confirmation of that interrope bond between us.
I already have a house. It's not really something fancy, but it looks great.
When my thoughts slowly return to coherence, the moment is over. Neither Brattan nor I have been returned to our old selves, of course. Our skin is still soft and sensitive. Our body is still a little more frail than we were used to. Our breaths come in a little more shallow than they really should. With my head resting against Brattan's chest, I listen to his pulse thrum away, taking a long time to slow down. His arms are wrapped around me, his hands resting against my back, and I can tell his hands are back to being soft and clawless and tender. But their observation doesn't disturb me. It's merely that, an observation. We are the way we are now, and while both of us may long for the past, we are also accepted what we've become now.
Hey, Bill.
Brattan's husky whisper is just enough motivation for me to look up. His voice is back to being soft and quiet, lacking in the rasping edge that comes from a mouthful of razor-sharp teeth, still a little breathy from the way his chest rises and falls dramatically. Yeah?
I'm so happy to be with you.
It almost gets what I say. Brattan is honest, and his eyes are glowing with a genuine contentment. He kisses my forehead, the gesture a little sloppy, then he repeats,
I'm so happy to be with you.
So much has happened to us. The abyssal hole in the flesh burst, the all-consuming moment of the eclipse, the sudden arrival to the strange city, and the realization that neither of us will ever return to the way that we were. And while none of those events were trivial or easy, they were all surmountable because we had each other. I'm sure things will continue to be hard in the future, but that's alright, we'll manage. We have to, so far, and we always will. I laugh as I wrap my arms around his neck. My chest feels a little tight, my breath still short, but I don't want to wait another moment. I lean close to him as I answer. I'm so happy to be with you too. And that should be the end of Brattan's route in Meeting in the Flesh. Their route is a kind of a happy ending, but also sad at the same time. After all, both of them, Brattan and Phil, has praised themselves to go to another world. Another world where they have to start at the beginning, where they don't know anything. But at least they have met kind people and experienced bad things. But they survived, and they will continue to do so in future, despite their change in the body and their reminiscence about the past of their strange bodies and the difference between their new bodies and the past body. I would say it's a happy ending, but kind of tinged with a sadness in between. But in the end, as long as they have each other, everything will be fine. So I wish for the happiness. So that should be it for Meeting in the Flesh. Next we will have the last suitor, and that will be in the next video, of course. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you on the next playthrough or meeting in the flesh. Bye bye!